Hi, everybody. Just a quick disclaimer for this episode. So, as some of you guys know, Amber and I record all of our episodes in our apartment as best we can with what we got. This kind of makes soundproofing a bit tough without, renovating things. And since we're renting, that's not really a thing. It also just so happens that in the middle of this episode, they decided to start really doing some construction outside, downstairs, lower part of our building. So I've done as much as I can to edit it out, but just a quick disclaimer: about halfway to the 2/3 point, there's some kind of annoying background noise. Don't let it turn you off of this episode. It's great. It wraps up our Evil Dead marathon, and we still hope you guys really enjoy it. And thank you so much for listening, as always, and sticking with us, especially when we got to deal with stuff like this. Anyway, on with the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome to So What Happens Next. I, as always, am one of your hosts, Thomas.
I'm Amber.
And this week we are rounding off our Evil Dead marathon with 1992's Army of Darkness. So how you doing today, Amber? How you feeling about the end of a era almost of never having seen these movies before?
I'm actually a little bit sad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Me too. I'm excited to finally watch this. I mean, it's been a bit coming, but it's like, well, again, as I've said in the last two, I've seen this movie once, but I remember nothing from it.
Yeah.
We both agreed it kind of fits our, qualifications for a movie that we haven't seen, since I can't really remember next to anything about it.
But just anytime you finish a trilogy.
I know, or just finish a series. I mean, it's like when you finish a show on Netflix and you're just like, fuck, what do I do now?
Like, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's just so, well, it is what it is, I guess. But some corrections and some extra stuff and tidbits from the last episode. So I was actually wrong when I said that Dino De Laurentiis didn't produce that movie. His production company actually did.
Okay.
So I guess Stephen King won the producer for Flash Gordon over and got him to produce Evil Dead 2. Mm-hmm. We also forgot to let you guys know the budget. So Amber, what do you think the budget for Evil Dead 2 was?
Way more than $300K.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's almost 10 times more.
Okay.
$3,600,000.
Okay.
Is the estimated budget. You want to guess how much it made?
$5 million.
Pretty much. It made about almost $6 million.
Okay.
It made a good bit of money when it was done. Its opening weekend had about $800,000.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I don't know what in the 1980s like was good or bad in like an opening weekend. I mean, but it eventually made that money back. Yeah. So I think it's definitely a success.
Yeah.
Which leads us into our movie for today. Army of Darkness came out in 1992. It is also, thank God, another like 80-minute movie. And it rounds off the Evil Dead trilogy. So Amber, based on the ones we've seen, I mean, Evil Dead 2 kind of gives you a good idea of where this is going to be set. So straight up, obviously, we're sort of set in this like medieval time. But aside from that, what else is happening? What are we doing in this movie?
Well, we last left off at Ash going through the portal.
Yep.
And landing in a different timeline, I guess you could say, because it looks like the medieval age, but you've got these like demons flying through, so obviously not accurate.
I mean, they said there were demons and stuff back then. You never know.
That's true. There could have been demons back then.
Well, I think it's maybe taking some liberties, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. But anyways, he lands in this mysterious place, and he's hailed as like this hero for the people or for this kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just that's basically where it's going to start. Just from what we've seen with like Evil Dead 2. I think it's just going to start the same way in Army of Darkness. And, you know, he's going to meet obviously the king of the land and whoever the queen is. I definitely think like, I feel like Ash, like, unfortunately does not have a good track record with women. Like he seems to form this relationship with them, and then once he does, it's like bam, like kill them. Yeah, they're dead. So I feel like
they're
there's like a
dead, if you would.
Female counterpart in this, but unfortunately she'll probably like die at the end or something. But I definitely think they're gonna have more background information on like their perspective of like what is going on versus like what we got from the archaeologist,
right?
And so they're gonna be like, oh, this has been happening for like thousands of years or some shit, and some wizard maybe like discovered like how to open the portal, and this is why all of the demons are kind of like terrorizing like the villagers and the kingdom, and so they're basically like, you fix this,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that. I think I totally agree with you on the like, let's flesh out this kind of lore situation they have created for themselves with this book. I mean, the cold open of Evil Dead 2 is just this, we're talking about the Necronomicon, and it's just like, okay, this is
maybe we'll
important.
get like a background information on like the creation.
That's what I was going to say. I think your wizard guy, it's going to be the character, since we're going back in time, I think it's the character who wrote the Necronomicon in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think like we're going to have to deal. I think that this, at the very least, this movie is going to end with like this wizard man drawing the picture that we see in his creepy, scary book. Yeah, so I mean, like I've said a couple times now, like I saw this movie once a long time ago. All I can remember is what we're sort of handed in Evil Dead 2 is he goes back in time and he has to fight off these guys. Aside from that, I don't remember a thing about this movie. I remember the Army of Darkness. I think it's going to be a situation where he's like, yo, I'm from the future. This shit's going to get real if you don't stop it. And no one's going to believe him, but half the people will. I think given this movie, its camp, its setting, we're totally getting a princess character. I think you're absolutely right. I think she's going to be the one to like help him. You know, he's going to be in prison or something and they're going to get him out, and she's going to be the one to do it, who believes him. And I think his whole goal is figure out a way to go back to the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe finding this wizard or even the book.
There might also be a good wizard and a bad wizard.
That's true. Like, you know, maybe the bad wizard wrote the Necronomicon. Maybe there's like a Book of the Amun-Ra, Book of the Dead situation here. There's a good book that can send him home.
Yeah.
But I think we're definitely going to get a lot of kooky, like, I got a gun and a chainsaw and a car, and I'm in, like, you know, medieval times right now. Like, I can wow you all with this.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's going to come into play. I think we're definitely going to get more. I'm really hoping we're going to get more bad guys. I mean, the one thing I remember is, like, the Army of Darkness. So I can almost 100% say we will probably get a ton of like monsters running around in this one, which I'm kind of stoked for.
Which I'm sure it's going to be like a final showdown. You know, you have the knights on one side, the monsters on the other. They kind of go straight at it. I'm
thinking kind of like in Willow when the bad army, not at the end, but when the bad army attacks Tir Asriel, and like the monster gets created and everything's going to shit, but everybody's fighting. I think it's that, but more monsters, less knights.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be a showdown in a castle for sure. I mean, they keep putting that big giant castle center frame and everything. It's got to take place there.
Yeah.
So if you give us just about 2 minutes, we're going to watch this trailer real quick, and we'll give you our final thoughts. Well, then. That maybe said a little bit more than thought it would.
Yeah.
But, which, you know, I think is an interesting thing. We've been talking about it occasionally on the show. Is like, I feel like as we do movies, the older the movie, the less revealing the trailer. Like, Citizen Kane, arguably being the oldest movie we've done on the show so far, is like, I'm just not going to tell you anything about this movie. And he straight up like says it.
Yeah.
And then in this one, we're approaching the 90s and they're kind of like, here's what it's about. And it's like, I kind of right now, I kind of like sitting in the 80s. I like the 80s trailers. It's just enough. I don't know what's happening, but enough to make me go, I'm curious. Though I gotta love it. This movie is showing me exactly what I wanted in the second one.
Yeah.
Times 2. And it's great because the whole like, this is my boomstick. And I'm just like, that's good.
Yeah.
I like this. It looks goofy, but it also looks like a perhaps fun fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a direction I don't know. I didn't think it would go that way. What are you thinking?
Yeah, like I got Monty Python feels from it. Especially like when in the beginning when they're just like, "Oh no, like who's going to save us?"
Yeah.
And all this
it's
shit.
definitely that campy for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. I noticed something though from fucking Willow though. Looks like we're gonna get some Munchkin brownie characters again, and I'm just like, man, who are these characters for?
Yeah.
They better be fucking
but
funny in this one.
I did notice a wizard in there. I did.
Do you know who that wizard is?
No.
He is Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld. So I don't know if you watch Seinfeld, but
no.
When is one of my favorite shows. Like when I was in high school and stuff, and there's one arc of the season where Elaine is just sort of like an assistant to this absurdly rich guy, and that absurdly rich guy is in this movie he's the wizard, and in Jurassic Park 2 he actually plays a butler for John Hammond. But every time I recognize him, I'm like, it's Mr. Pitt. And just funny antics that happen with him in the show. But anyway, so he looks like he plays the wizard, and it looks like Ash is the cause of the Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
according to the trailer.
He tries to recite.
Yeah, he tries to say
words to go back home.
Parada Nix, and like fucks it up, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, after saying "I got it," which is a total Ash thing.
Yeah, it's totally total Ash. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, no, it's looking like it's gonna maybe be the funnest of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's going to be my favorite or if it's going to be the best. But
yeah, because it doesn't look as scary or gory at all.
No, it looks like it's definitely campier. It doesn't look as violent or as scary, like you said.
Yeah.
In the gore sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it might be the most, in a weird way, it looks like it might be the most fun of these movies.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's ever like a movie franchise I could think of where like one movie was not as good but was more fun to watch. I can't think of off the top of my head. But like this looks like I might have that situation. I think I'm still going to like 2, but I'm still sticking to what I said last week. I think it's going to be a 2-3-1 situation.
Yeah.
That all being said, the back of the DVD cover, description for this movie is a man is accidentally transported to 1300 AD where he must battle an army of the dead and retrieve the Necronomicon so he can return home. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
Was just a little bit in between.
I was just sort of surprised that he causes the evil. I kind of thought he was going to come in the middle.
Because,
for sure. He kind of caused the evil in the first one too.
Exactly.
I was kind of expecting it to be like he comes in the middle of this shit.
Yeah. But then how does that explain the Darkites just coming out of nowhere?
Maybe it's like I don't know. Maybe it's sort of like, they're just there.
Yeah.
And it's like an issue, but it's not a huge thing. Or maybe it's
like the witch turning people into that or something.
Well, I think the witch is just the princess, right? Huh? Is the witch not just the princess?
It might be,
or whoever Sheila is.
I thought those were two different people.
They might be. I don't know. I thought they were the same person. But, yeah, I mean, maybe she's just out in the woods doing shit. Or maybe the book accelerates it. I don't know. Is the Necronomicon in this movie temporally the same book as the second movie? Or is this the Necronomicon of 1300 AD? Because they were like... In the first movie, they were talking about how it was found like from in Sumer and shit, and that's a good 2,000 plus years before this, 3,000 years probably plus before this. So it's like, is that book just kind of a relic from then that these people found in the Crusades or some shit? I don't know. I don't even know if this movie is going to go that in depth with the plot.
Yeah.
But looking at it, they might, because this looks like where they're going to answer all the lore questions, and it's probably because they can. So, all that being said, it's going to be a few seconds for you, and it's going to be, thank God, another almost exactly 80 minutes for us. which is the perfect amount to digest these movies, as we go and watch Army of Darkness. Wow. You know, I am super happy with what we just watched. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better trilogy out there as far as, like, do I like it or not goes. What did you think, Amber?
Yeah, I thought the same too, especially with trilogies. Like, recently I just saw on Reddit, like, somebody going through all of the trilogies, like, The Matrix or
Right.
some other type of movie, but they're all like, when the third movie hits, it's like so bad.
I know.
Yeah, like Spider-Man 3.
Perfect
Tanks.
example. And it's like, it's funny, it's great because, like, it's another Sam Raimi movie. It's funny that you bring that up. So
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, the third in a lot of trilogies is, I mean, like, look at the new Star Wars trilogies. Like,
yeah, last one tanked.
It was just a mess. And I mean, like, you're right. There's a lot, or there's always at least like one. Like, I think like Pirates of the Caribbean, the second one's probably the weakest one. But I feel like in most trilogies, there's always a really weak link somewhere in that chain.
Yeah.
And these movies, I don't feel like there was.
Yeah, obviously, like, they're, like, for me at least, like, the first one and the second one were definitely up there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the third one was bad. Like, if anything, they were all pretty much equal or very close to it.
Yeah. No, I agree. This one was really, like, I mean, it was funny and it was fun, but it was just different enough to be like, this is its own, like, level of movie.
Which is why it's like Army of Darkness versus like Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Right. And that was cool. Like, I don't know. This was just neat. So I guess, like, we can jump into kind of what happens in this movie. So, spoiler alert for Army of Darkness if you haven't caught on to that already. But, yeah, we open up. We left Ash, like we said, in the end of Evil Dead 2. He kind of gets transported to the past. This movie, like, opens up on, like, a chain gang in the past when Ash shows up. And then I think it jumps to, like, we're talking about Ash's job. We re-explain the last two movies, kind of like we did in the second one, where it explains, like, the Necronomicon. And then these knights in, like, medieval times come and arrest Ash for falling out of the sky after he kills and I want to correct this, we keep calling them Darkites. It's actually Deadites. So we were totally wrong on that until I did a bit of reading while we were watching the movie and listening to what they're actually saying. But so he kills one of the Deadites and, like, they, whatever, arrest him for it because they think he's part of, like, the enemy Knight Brigade or whatever,
even though they clearly just saw him, like, shoot a bunch of Deadites. Yeah, he has a gun too.
It's really weird, and it's funny because, like, they really dial it to 11. Like, it's clear that these prisoners going into this castle is the most entertainment these people have seen probably in their lives because these people are beating the shit out of Ash and the other, like, three prisoners.
The losing team,
Right. And it's kind of like if,
from the other
a team,
kingdom.
Yeah, it's like if a team lost a football game and everybody in the home team town got to beat the shit out of the people that lost.
With
rocks, yeah. And I mean, this is where, like, the one-liners really start up. And I made a point to write down my favorite ones this time. So the first one that comes up is he turns around. I guess the other leader guy is in the line with him. They're gonna kill him, and he turns around and he's like, I'm their leader or something. He goes, you're leading two things, bud, Jack and shit. And Jack just left town. And I'm like, damn, this is good. Like, we're good. We're starting off with some fun. And you get this weird, like, Sarlacc pit thing because they have that pit in the middle. It's kind of like that thing out of Star Wars. It's all spiky, but it's actually just a hole.
Yeah, I was expecting, like, a vagina-looking thing, like, or butthole-looking
like a nasty
thing,
butthole in the sand. Like, it was really, it ended up just being a hole that they, like, dug, and at the bottom, I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be, like, a monster.
Yeah,
and it was just like a deadite lady.
Yeah.
Who lives in the water. I don't know. It was weird, and they fight, and you get, like, that epic fucking This movie I don't think ends up being as gory, kind of like we said at the top of
But
the
I
show.
did like the amount of blood that came out.
Like
with
when
the first night going in, and it just like splashes
I
everyone.
straight up wrote down blood fountain. Like it just rockets out of the hole, and that's where I thought, like, oh, there's a monster, and then instead it's just like this angry witch lady creepy thing.
Yeah.
But he chainsaws her in half or whatever, and it is epic as fuck. Like, we're going for it. But then there's more monsters in there. I don't know. Like, he fights a couple things, and then he gets out because they do that classic trash compactor thing where the walls are closing in. We're kind of aping Star Wars a lot in this scene now that I'm thinking about it. You got your Sarlacc, you got your, like, trash compactor. But yeah, and he does another great line is he's like, your shoelace is untied to, like, the head of the winning team, and he actually, like, in full armor looks down and I'm like, what the fuck, and he like punches him out.
Do you even know what shoelaces are
right
at that
like
point?
you're wearing like boots, you just put them on,
metal boots.
But I love it because this is like one of my top favorite lines in the movie when he's yelling at everybody and he's just going on this tire. He's like, who wants some? And he gets his shotgun back from the guy that was like whipping him or something, and he's like, this is my boomstick, and everyone's like, ah, and then he goes on to explain, like, as if he's selling it at the hardware store that he works in the future, and it's hilarious. And then like they suddenly decide to treat him like royalty because he does have like the chainsaw arm, and he looks like, I think Mr. Pitt, the wizard guy, he figures out, oh, he's from the book. He figures out he's the chosen one, so they treat him like royalty. And then you get, like, he fights a witch lady that tries to kill him in the castle or something, and they all decide, okay, well, if you go and get the Necronomicon for us, we can send you home. And it'll also be the one thing we need to stop all the Deadites from attacking our castle or whatever. So I think that answered one of my questions at the beginning was, this is totally like the Necronomicon of the year 1300, not the one from the house. Like, the book didn't go back. It's not the same book he had.
No, it's not. There's like several different.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I mean, like, it's the one, like, temporally speaking, this is the Necronomicon from 1300, not the one from 1982. Yeah. But yeah, so he's like, all right, cool, I'll do that. And they build him this. I love how it's a montage and they gloss over it. They build him like a fucking robot hand. And this is my favorite line. Anytime Bruce Campbell can say groovy on screen, I'm all in for it. Like, he just puts on it. You could almost again play like the A-Team theme song, be like dun 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 dun, and he puts on the robot hand. He's just like groovy, and then like he starts making out with the girl who slapped him or something, and then I guess he's like, give me some sugar, baby, and they go on from there. There's a lot of one-liners, guys, in this movie, and I wrote almost all of them down. But yeah, so the wizard is like, okay, go do this thing, but make sure you say these words, Klaatu Barada Nikto, and he tries to get him to repeat it. Ash gets pissed. He's like, I got it, and he goes. And that leads into, I think, one of my least favorite scenes in this whole movie. When the little, like, the little ashes. Yeah, like, he gets attacked by a monster, and then he has these little ashes that, like, come out of him, terrorize him. And it reminded me so hard of the thing I hate. It's just like I said at the top of the episode. It's like the brownies in Willow.
That's what I was about to say. It was like the brownies.
Except they swear, and they're, like, violent. More violent, arguably. Yeah, it's like the brownies, and they kill you, or they're swearing and shit. And I mean, like, that was funner, but I also was just like, I don't really care. Like, I don't like this. Apparently, that actually, and we'll get to it more with the ending when we get there, but Universal actually did a few reshoots to this movie. That whole windmill scene is one of them. So, like, Universal felt like the movie was maybe a bit too negative, especially at the ending, so they had them change the ending, and they had them add this scene. And I think, to me, that's why it feels really out of place, because it's kind of a long sequence for this. Like, we're doing a lot of really goofy shit that, I mean, don't get me wrong, this movie is goofy as hell, but it's not this kind of goofy. It's like a little bit more childlike, kind of like it felt like watching the brownies do shit in Willow, just with swears and a little bit more violence. But he, like, one of them he eats or something. Ultimately, he runs outside and, like, he undergoes
starts growing.
Yeah, he
like,
undergoes like mitosis or
ash,
some
yeah.
shit, and like divides into two ashes. There's a good ash and a bad ash, and they kind of duke it out, and that's where you get another good line where he's like, "Good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun," and like cuts his head off and buries him, like you're supposed to do with the Deadites. Then we kind of leave him for a while, but you know, spoilers, he'll come back because we need like a bad guy here. And this, Amber, is when we get to the books. So he gets to where the Necronomicon is, but oh my god, there's like 3 of them. And we're doing this wacky scene where he's like trying each book, and he can't quite like, you know, he just kind of goes by trial and error. Like one tries to like eat him, the other one tries to like suck him in a portal or something. He's like, okay, this has got to be the one. And he goes to say the words, and
he totally forgets. So he's like,
totally fucks up.
Yeah, you do a better rendition of it though.
Oh, okay. He's like, Klaatu, Barada, and then nothing happens. And he goes, okay. And he picks up the book, and then like stuff starts going to shit. He's like, oh boy. And
when he gets back, they're just like, what did you do? Like,
yeah, because he's fed up. He's like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah.
And he grabs the book, he goes back. And
and he's like, send me back. And they're like, but you didn't do it right.
They're like, no. He's like, I got you the book, that was a deal. And they're like, well, the book's useless now because you fucking did the thing you weren't supposed to do. And he's like, well, too damn bad.
You brought the army of darkness.
Exactly. And so, yeah, Ash, you know, is the one who fucks everything up. You know, Sheila gives him some shit. I think that's where you get where she's like, all those wonderful things you said to me that night. And he's like, well, that was just pillow talk, baby. That was it. And I'm just like, damn. Ash is an asshole. But yeah, evil Ash returns from the dead, I guess, if he was ever dead to start with. And he starts raising like the skeleton army of darkness, I guess, near where the book is. They kidnap Sheila, and this scene was really weird because the skeletons are all ranting about, well, and evil Ash are like ranting about like raping her.
Yeah, it was very rapey.
It was super rapey.
Not just raping her, but like there were other women in that scene too.
Yeah, you're right. There's a bunch of women in there.
Yeah,
like, yeah,
and they're just like raiding, like pillaging like all these places for women. But I'm like, look at you, you're a skeleton. You have no like.
Was this? And this is the problem: is they like never ever use like a bone joke. I mean, first off, it's a little awkward because they're talking about rape and stuff. So like that right there. But like if you're gonna be doing the skeletons talking about having sex, and you're not gonna be like, oh man, this bone's gonna get hard or some stupid cringeworthy joke like that. Why are you even wasting our time?
Yeah.
Like, come on. But you know, Ash decides to change his mind, and he rallies everybody together, and everyone's like, we're not going to have enough men, and he's like, we'll go get that other guy, because that's right, in the beginning, the losing team's leader, after he gives his boomstick speech, he makes them let him go, and he's like, get the fuck out of here. Sheila gets turned into an evil monster lady. We got a montage of them getting, they take the Delta, and they're like, soup it up with guns and make it steam powered and stuff so his car can work again. And they do like funny shit because like they open the trunk, and to explain how these people are able to work on the machinery of the future, there's like an intro to chemistry book in the trunk, and he's like, it's kind of focuses on that. It's like he's gonna give them this book and they will understand.
Yeah, which I was
chemistry.
like, that is so dangerous just to give that to the wizard.
Exactly. And I mean, and so it was funny though, because it's just like, there you go. It's like, what is this? And they make the car work again, and they use it to fight they're getting ready to fight the incoming army of the dead. And you get some really cool shit because like this, you have like a really neat score that kind of carries this sequence. Like the music is really carrying the sequence. There's a lot of practical effects in this movie. Like I thought we were going to be leaning, I mean, I guess not to say that like claymation stuff isn't practical in the same sense of like, you know, masks and stuff. It is like a physical thing you're filming.
Yeah.
But like in this, we're doing a lot, like especially with the skeletons. I was kind of thinking all the skeletons are going to be like claymation or something. But in reality, a lot of them were just like people I can only imagine, like with skeletons on sticks that were like crouched below the camera, and they're just like walking around shaking them and like moving them like Muppets or something. And I was like, wow, it's goofy, but it's well done enough to where I'm like, I appreciate the effort. Like it's not just like we rolled a skeleton to stand there and statically not move its mouth but say things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. It reminded me of Spider-Man. Like, it reminded me of the later Spider-Man movie, or not the later ones, but like the Raimi ones, the first ones.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of like weird. I remember when we rewatched those a while back, like they do a lot of those funky kind of practical effect, like more practical effects than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Like him climbing on walls and things.
Yeah.
And I think part of that's compared to like the new movies where it's like almost like Spider-Man is CGI probably 90% of the time. So it's like you're not really seeing anyone do anything.
Yeah.
Or it's like mo-capped on a green screen, so you're just kind of moving.
And I remember like when it was on FX, they would show like how they did those special effects.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like, oh, here's the wall, we built it on the ground, and he just like is crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
But it looks... But
or like breaking through basically plaster or something. Mm-hmm. So those were definitely cool to see. But nowadays, you don't really get that.
No, you don't. I mean, it's because CG's just so easy to do now. But yeah, there's a great fight. The supercar comes in and it's kicking everyone's ass. It's throwing bombs. I think they build grenades or something.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
like
and they're
from
like
the
hucking them on trebuchets and shit. And it's like they're really like Ash and the good guys are like really fucking up this army pretty hard. Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of amazing that this fight goes on for as long as it does, given what they have.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're fighting. I love the dynamic between the good and evil Ashes. Like when they ultimately show down, it's pretty great. Like when they're fighting. I think he gets caught in the corner by the woman Sheila, who's now a witch or something. Mm-hmm. And you get that other line where she's like, "You used to find me beautiful once, Ash," and he's just like, "Baby or honey, you got real ugly," and just like throws her off the edge of a rampart or something, and she just tumbles, I guess, to her death or whatever. And there is a classic like, no, she doesn't die. She comes back.
She's like knocked out or something.
She's like lands on some hay or whatever. Yeah. Henry comes to save the day with everybody, and there's a classic for anybody listening, like that movie The Incredibles from like the early 2000s that Disney put out with the superheroes. They have a classic scene from that reminds me of that when Syndrome, the bad guy, is like, "You caught me monologuing." Like that's how Ash kills evil Ash, because he's just sitting there like monologuing about how he's gonna take over the world or some shit. And then I think he catches him and skewers him and cuts him up or whatever. But he kills him, and then everybody's happy, and you get like the formerly winning team and the formerly losing team like hug it out, and everybody's happy. And then so this was a cool thing. So the ending we saw was Ash. It kind of fades out. Ash is back at the department. No.
At his hardware store.
Yeah,
that he works at.
Store.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story to, of course, Sam Raimi's brother, who's in like every single one of these. Every movie Raimi does anyway. And he's in there and he's telling him the story. He's like, "And then they wanted to make me king. They wanted me to teach them all the things I know from the future." And he's just looking at him bored like, "Yeah, okay." And then he says like, he goes, "Did you say the words right this time?" And he goes, "Of course I said the words right." He's like, "I might not have said every single syllable, but I said it fine. Like, that's how I got back here." And then you get like this final fight thing because he's like talking to some woman and the woman kind of snubs him.
Yeah.
The woman's actually Bridget Fonda. But anyway, so Bridget Fonda snubs him, and then he's just like standing around like, whatever, and then the Evil Dead appear again in the future, and he gets a gun and he fights off this woman.
He's just blowing shit off while everybody's just like, "Oh my god," like running away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's so great, and it's because he said the words wrong, and he like the Evil Deadite woman is like, "Who are you?" And he's just like, "The name's Ash. Housewares." Boom, and blows her away with a shotgun. And that's where he gets like a little alternate thing. He's like, "Yeah, I could have been king." And it's like he pulls off the vest and he's wearing like a fancy shirt underneath or whatever. And he like holsters the shotgun and he's talking. He's like, "But you know what, dear? I kind of am the king." And that's where you get the classic line where he looks at Bridget Fonda, now who's like in his arms, and he's just like, "Hail to the king, baby." And like kisses her and the movie ends. However, apparently that was the changed ending. There was a different ending that happened. So like I said earlier, Universal wanted things changed, and because they found that the original ending was too negative. So I guess in order to send him back to the future, they give him a potion, and he's supposed to like take 6 drops of it, and then he'll sleep just long enough to get back to the 80s.
Okay.
In the movie, the original cut of the movie, he takes 7 drops on accident, falls asleep too long, and wakes up in like a post-apocalyptic nightmare world. And he's like got a long beard. He's like, no, I slept too long. And the movie ends. And like, that to me was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, all right, we're doing that. And
but you could have had a Mad Max with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
Ash
the thing. If this movie got like another one, and the Deadites like destroy the future or something, and he has to fight like a Samurai Jack style, like kill the Deadites in the future and then go back to the past kind of type thing, I would love that as a movie. You could call it Ash to the Future.
Yep. Ash.
But yeah, so those, and so Universal thought that ending was too negative, so they filmed the one with Bridget Fonda and everybody to sort of do that. And allegedly Sam Raimi kind of is cool with that there are like 2 versions of an ending, like another reality where Ash does kind of get screwed. I kind of like both endings. Amber, what do you think? Like taking into account everything we saw and then seeing that both endings now, like what do you think? What would you have rather seen, the one we got or the post-apocalypse?
I think the one we got.
Me too.
Because then you can, like, you have the TV series then to like build upon that, whereas like the other one, it's like, okay, what now? Like, you'll have to do another movie.
Exactly. I think definitely, since there is clearly a TV series, which I am now totally going to jump into, because this I just couldn't get enough of this. But now that there is a TV series, in hindsight, totally the right move on the ending, because that TV series doesn't look like it takes place in the future or anything, so it's like there. But at the same time, if you were going to make that Ash to the Future movie, I could be on board. Like, if you were going to make a 4th movie where it was, like, a future fight to get home, yeah, I'd be fine with that alternate ending. But I do like the Hail to the King thing is such a classic staple. I mean, it's on the poster for this movie, for Christ's sake. Like, I think to, like, take that out of the movie would really just, it would kill a lot. I mean, that whole sequence in the end was just great. I think it was really well done. And I think it's also a testament, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I think it's a testament to where, like, sometimes reshoots aren't a bad thing. Like, I, as a viewer, enjoyed that first, the new ending that we saw in the hardware store a lot better than the I slept too long, oh no.
Yeah.
Not that one's bad. It's just,
it cuts it really short.
It cuts it short, and the end was fun, and it was like another couple one-liners and a cool little funny action sequence. It's done. Don't think the little Ash brownie sequence needed to happen, though. That felt like,
definitely.
That one to me was like, are we making this for kids? Like, what is happening here? It was a little weird because it felt really kid-like to me, but they still wanted to keep it kind of violent. I don't know. It was strange. But overall, Amber, now that we've kind of revisited it in our mind and everything, what are your thoughts on this? And then, like, since we're kind of at the end of the movies here, like, what are your thoughts on this movie? Obviously, like, what's your rating out of 10, like we usually do?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, where do you think this falls in the trilogy? Is it the best one? Is it the third best one? That kind of thing.
So, I wish I could remember what I gave the ratings for the last 2. I think they were up there like 8, 9, right?
Yeah, so I checked it. You gave the first one, I think, was like an 8, and we'll double check this, but the first one I think was like an 8. The second one was a 9. You gave the second one a 9 for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, this one would be like a 7.
You think
or
this one's a
7.5? Yeah.
Okay. Wow, why? Compared to the other 2, like, why? Because you gave Evil Dead 2. Like, to me, Evil Dead 2 and this have a really similar vibe. This one maybe hams it up a little more, but
okay.
Like, before we get into my thoughts, like, you gave Evil Dead 2 a 9, so why is this one losing a couple points?
I think it's because it doesn't have that gore to it, or that scary factor to it.
It's more like fantasy action.
Yeah, it's definitely more fantasy.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, And where in the 3 do you think
I
this
definitely
falls?
think 2, 1, and 3.
Oh, okay. So this is a 2-1-3 situation for
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. I would probably honestly give this one a 9.
Okay.
I think I gave Evil Dead 2, if I recall, a 10.
Mm-hmm.
This one definitely is not as good as Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, definitely.
I like Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2, for all the reasons that you mentioned, it was better than this one. Definitely. Like, it was goofy, it was gory. I don't want to say it was more mature, but as far as like a comedy goes, like it felt geared more towards an adult audience.
Yeah.
And this, don't get me wrong, this one wasn't like it was for kids or something, but you can tell that it was dialed down just a bit. I mean, it's still an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
But some of it is a little dialed down, and like, you know, like the little brownie-Ash scene. I'm like, that...
Yeah, like that's a little kiddie.
Well, it also like really stopped the movie dead for a long time to me. And like it didn't contribute enough in what the payoff was. So like he fights like 4 or 5 of these little tiny ashes or something. One of them gets in him. He drinks some boiling water, and then the other ash grows out of him because he like consumed the little ash. And I'm like, I feel like we could have done something else to get here, or at least something that didn't take like 15, what felt like 15 minutes to do. Like it felt like a long scene, and I was kind of like, it took me out of it a little bit, to be honest. But like the lines in this one, I think, are top. Like the one-liners in this movie are the best, I think, out of all of them. Like the boomstick, "Hail to the King," you know, the whole deal. Like it's great. The general feel, like I didn't mind the fantasy action-y bit. Like I feel like doing a third version of what we just saw in Evil Dead 2 would almost be like, this maybe isn't.
Yeah, that might be too much,
right? Because Evil Dead 2, and that's where I think, you know, I'll lead into my thing. I think it goes 2, 3, 1, because the first one and the second one is almost like a funky reboot sequel of the first one. And the first one's a classic. Don't get me wrong, like it's good. I think the second one sort of takes it in a direction that I found more enjoyable. So like I like the second one more than the first one, and I like this one next to the second one, so it defaults the first one to the bottom for me. And this one kind of continued on, but it was different enough to where I didn't feel like I was watching the same thing over again. Because that's sort of my trouble with like a lot of horror movie sequels, is it's sort of like, we're going to do the same thing but with different people and maybe a different setting, or like some random factors different. It's like reskinning the first movie half the time, right? And this one was like, no, we're going to do something different. Like we're going to have like a plot where he goes to the past and like crazy shit happens. Like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm cool with that. You know, it's different enough to where I could still enjoy it, but I'm also not feeling so coming out of left field where it doesn't feel like a sequel anymore. Yeah. Like it did a good enough job keeping itself sort of in that line. Do you have any guess what IMDb gave this movie?
I feel like they gave it probably like a 72.
Yeah. You're pretty close. It's a 75, 7.5, you know, depending on how you want to do math.
Yeah. I mean, they've all been consistently like that anyways.
I know. And I feel like there's just people out there.
I feel like,
yeah. I don't... It bothers me. Because I feel like people...
Well, it's a horror movie, or horror comedy movie, I guess. And usually those aren't rated high anyways.
True. But it's also like, I don't know, to me, these are like horror comedy. Like, this is what all horror comedy movies, I feel like it should aspire to be like. Yeah. And so when it's like, oh, it's a 7.5, it's like, I feel like you're going, I thought this was going to be scary. Oh, it's going to be like gritty and shit, but it's not. I mean, like I've said in the past recent episodes, like going through these reviews is really a pain, and finding ones that aren't fake are really annoying. But like, I just feel like there's people out there who maybe wanted this to be a little bit more serious than it was. And I just feel like this is one of the first movies I've seen in a long time where I was able to watch it and go, this movie is giving you everything it thinks it is up front. You know, you don't have to dive into it and think deep on it. It's not trying to do that. It doesn't want you to do that. And it's pretty much telling you not to do that.
Yeah, and it's giving you what other horror movies lack. So you lack that plot, you lack that connection with the characters, because honestly, they don't live for very long. They live for like a few seconds and then they're gone. And you're like, But like, at least in the first one, we got to know each and every character and like their little quirks and stuff.
That's
like
true.
Even the ones that did die off, it was kind of like, okay, like we still got that plot. Like whereas every other movie I guess I've seen, it's just kind of like, oh, forget the plot, like let's just go with like the gore. And it's like watching Friday the 13th.
Right.
Friday the 13th is a great example of that, because I can't even tell you who was in that movie.
Right. The new one, right? That
the
like
new
2009
one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree, because I feel like, especially in the early like the aughts, or so to speak, now that we're in the 2020s, in like the 20-aughts, it was kind of like horror movies had become like, we don't really care about who's there. You care about the two, usually couple characters who will ultimately survive this. We'll develop them a little bit. Everyone else is just fucking slaughter meat. Like, that's it. They're there to die. That's all you care about. This movie, like, acknowledged the people that will serve a purpose in the movie, and then and then just made you understand that everybody else is just background.
Yeah.
Like, all the knights and shit. We're not, like, learning about little knights here and there to have, like, a little side thing. It's like, who cares? They're gonna die or they're gonna live. You're not really gonna care. They're there to flesh out the scene. The only people that matter are the wizard, Ash, Sheila, Evil Ash, I guess the two leader king knight guys, because they kind of, fulfill a role in the plot. And then that's kind of it. Like, everybody else is just something to die or something to make a joke or whatever. And that's fine. Like, that's fine for me. Even in the second movie, they do the same. Like, you have your two rednecks who are kind of just there to get killed, and they don't act like they're going to do anything except upset the plot.
Yeah.
You have the two archaeologists who are, like, fulfilling the background of the book, and then there's Ash, who's the main character, who's killing all the Deadites. It works. It's a horror movie. Unless you're doing, like, a Midsummer thing, I don't need to know that much about the people that are going to die. Like, you're not trying to get me emotionally. You're just trying to get me to understand why everyone's here and what they're doing.
Yeah, it makes sense, at least, like, in these movies. Whereas other movies, it's just like, why? Like, why do you have this person here? Like,
right. Why is this, like, arguably token something character here to just, they're dead in the first 5 minutes?
Yeah, like, here's our token black person. Like,
right.
That doesn't really fit in with the group.
Right, but, like, they're there because, hooray for, I don't know, it's like that, like, horrible, like, trope of, like, the black guy dies first. It's like, why are you doing that? It just seems silly and stupid, and just, like, make your characters do something or just not be there, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this movie, I liked it a lot. I think it's definitely a 2-3-1 situation, though, because this one did go, as much as it didn't come too far out of left field, it did come a little out of left field for me. Like, it was a little different, and I liked it, but it was a different kind of movie than the first two. So, but at the end, I think it worked out for me. Do you have any idea what the budget was for this movie? Or do you want to take a guess? So the second one, I believe, was like $3 million.
So maybe they upped it to like $5 million?
Okay. It actually had a budget of like $11 million.
Oh my gosh.
Now this movie had some money behind it. And I mean, it shows.
Yeah.
It showed the sets. I mean, the set design in this movie is pretty extensive. Like, I know that they're probably on a soundstage, but it's a pretty big soundstage. Like, it's not like in the first two where we're kind of almost always in like a tiny house. This is like, oh shit, we're outside some of the times and things like that. This movie made about a little over $4 million its opening weekend. Okay. And it's, it's cumulative amount of money, grossed about its budget back, a little more than its budget back. But it's interesting. Like, this movie, I probably didn't do it the best. I think, we're both kind of right in putting it behind 2. I think 2 did better. But they go on to make a TV series about this. Geez, what, 20 plus years later? Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting. I definitely want to check it out. Yeah. I mean, just the way that this is and the way this ends, I'm kind of curious, like, how they start up the series and how they move through, like, what's going on now. It looks pretty crazy. Are they keeping, like, is it all CG now? Are they keeping it with special effects? What? I have to admit, I'm also a little curious about the remake they did. of Evil Dead.
Yeah.
In like 2013, I think was when it came out. I'll admit, I looked a little bit into it. I don't think it's going to be another episode or anything, but I remember looking just to read the reviews, and a lot of people were like, kind of like, it's like a weirdly more serious version of Evil Dead, but it's not bad. Like it does that really well. So I'm kind of curious, like, might be one on my like watch list to see later. Because, like, that's interesting. Like, what does a serious Evil Dead movie look like? You know, I feel like that could be, like, really fucking terrifying if, you know, it's done properly. I doubt it was. But, you know, I remember it coming out, and I remember it fizzling away pretty quick. So, you know, we'll see. So, all that being said, Amber, you got any final thoughts on this movie? Any way you want to go?
Not that I can think of. I think we discussed everything.
I know. I feel like we really went deep on the plot for this one. I mean, there wasn't a lot that happened, but, like, stuff did. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, things happen. I think that there may be, we'll see how the show goes, but maybe we'll do like our first on-air TV review for Ash vs. Evil Dead. Like, I cannot stress enough how much I liked this movie series. So, I mean, if it keeps on into the TV series, you guys might be getting like a quick little mini episode of like a review whenever we're done watching that, whenever we get to it. Right now is quarantine time, so, you know, there's plenty of time to watch it. But, Amber, what do we have going on next week?
So next week, we will be watching House, 1977.
Yes, the Japanese movie House. We're going back to Japan for the third time now, but unlike Paprika and Ran, this is another horror movie. This might be the last horror movie we do for a minute, guys. I'm getting real hard out. But yeah, it's called House, or Hausu in Japanese, I guess is what they call it. It's from the 70s. It looks insane. Our good friend Jose is going to be on the show for the first guest we're going to have in a minute. So it's going to be nice to have 3 people in the room again. Looking forward to it. This movie looks bonkers just from the pictures I've seen, and I'm pretty excited for us to go ahead and dive into this. So, join us next time when we watch House from 1977. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Thomas.
I'm Amber.
And thanks for listening in on Army of Darkness. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.